Today we're talking about challenges that people face or possible challenges, and we'll look at the possible solutions to some of those challenges from our experience and expertise. So that's what we'll be talking about. So welcome again. This is Tech Chat with Stella and Namdi. And you can see if you're on my Instagram, she's taking up a premium position of a Instagram. All right, let's dive right in because we have a limited time. One last disclaimer. In case you hear a baby screaming, it's a family member.
It's work-life balance.
Yes, it's work-life balance. Everybody's making a sacrifice at this point, including the baby.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not our baby. Just want to ask you, your baby. All right, so babe, go ahead. What's the first one? Get us
okay. I like the second one. I want to talk about the second one.
All right, so I'll start first. Then the first point, the first challenge people face is lack of the technical know-how, basically lack of the technical knowledge and skills, right? So people are coming from non-tech backgrounds. You haven't done it before, right? That is always the basis of the fear. There's this perception that people in tech are a certain breed of human beings.
I know, like,
right? You know, as a person in tech, I want to consider myself really sharp and smart. But there is it's no longer that much now. But I remember then when I first started, people were like, oh, you're computer science, you're really smart. And so I was like, it's not that, but like, yeah, I'm smart, I'm really smart, you know. But there's this because people don't know what they don't know, they limit themselves. You know, people always worry about, I can't count how many times I've had this conversation with people where they come tell, well, I want to really do database, but I don't want coding, I don't want to do programming. Is there any coding involved? Is there any scripting? Is there any, you know, that's not what I'm not interested in any of that. Right. So that lack of technical knowledge is always a source of concern, a source of fear for most people trying to make that transition. So they like the prospects, but because of the lack of skill and lack of knowledge about the space, they pretty much block themselves even before they take the first step.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely agree. And that's why we're very big on knowledge, but we're not big on abstract. We believe in the application, right? And, you know, I mean, everything we do at Inter Technologies, the courses that we teach, whether it be database administration or you know, Scrum Master, is that closing that gap, right?
Yeah.
That technical gap and giving you those skills. And so if you're just joining, we're talking about like the barriers that anyone could face if you're trying to pivot into having a tech career. And that leads us to the second point, imposter syndrome and fear. You know, let me tell you, you know, it's easier said than done, but I've seen amazing people who are wonderful at what they do, who are very skilled, still think that they're not enough, still think that, like, you know, like they shouldn't apply, like they're just worried, they're just afraid. And if anyone who follows me, you know, I'm an advocate for literally doing it afraid, right? So that feeling of inadequacy, that feeling of self-doubt about, you know, one's ability to succeed in a tech space, to succeed in a new career, right? Especially when you feel like, well, I'm going to this space, I'm going to be surrounded with experienced professionals. I remember this, you know, I was reading this story about Michelle Obama and her journey through imposter syndrome. And then she said when she was like first lady, she went into this room and there were these amazing people, like, you know, men, everything, like, you know, this generals and everything in this room. And then when they were speaking, she was like, well, they don't know that much.
They're not floating.
They don't know that much, right? And so that is it. Like, my message to anyone who's feeling imposter syndrome, honestly, is think about the best that can happen. We always think about the worst that can happen. Think about the best. What is the best that can happen? Like, you just never know. Like, applying for a job is never, ever, ever black and white. I'm telling you. You can apply for a job right now, and it could be someone who on a Friday just wants to get someone to this job. And like, I like your resume. When are you ready to start? It could literally be that. But you're thinking you might go through 10 interviews, 15 interviews. What if you don't go through any of those interviews? I remember an interview that I went for, and I was speaking to the hiring manager, and I went there with a book, like this cute book, like journal, small journals, and it was the journal that made her say, "Oh, you like words and quotes." I was like, "Yes." And she's very artsy as well, and that was how we kind of like kicked off the conversation. You just never know, right? So, first of all, though, you have to overcome that imposter syndrome by putting yourself in that situation that will make you feel like you're an imposter, which you are not, and overcome that doubt by stretching yourself, because you just really never know. So when students, some students, before they even start the course, they'll be like, do you think I can do this? I would say my belief can only go out as far as your belief. Because if I believe so much for you and you don't believe in yourself, you're going to literally jeopardize all the work that I am doing, right? And so first of all, kudos to anyone who's already been thinking of changing their career, thinking of changing their job. That is already a major step, right? That is you literally doing it afraid. So let's go all out. Let's go all out. So anyway, imposter syndrome and self-doubt is kind of like one of the things that really challenges people when they're trying to switch their careers.
Yeah, and it's so important, because when everybody deals with this, one of the core reasons why people have imposter syndrome, imposter just means you feel like a fake, you feel like a fraud. You feel like you're not qualified, or you don't deserve to be in this space. And it starts with, what's the key confidence builder? The number one challenge we talked about was that lack of knowledge and skill. If you feel inadequate in your skill, you will feel like a fraud when you're trying to take the next step of getting the job or beginning to transition. You won't feel confident in talking to somebody and saying, this is what I'm able to do, right? And so it starts with investing in your training, right? Investing in your training. And I'm not just saying go pay for training, but actually beyond paying for training and taking classes, putting in the work to become good at the technology, the platform that you're the path, right? That's stage one in overcoming imposter syndrome, is putting in the work. Right? Everybody who is a pro now was first a beginner.
Absolutely.
Every expert you look up to today in any space, in any field, was first a starter. They were not born, nobody. I don't care how good they were. Nobody was born great at anything. We all learned to do the things we're good at. Right? Even if it was our natural talent, our natural skill, we actually put in work. Whether you were a gifted singer, you still had to
put in some
discover, hone that skill to an extent. So the experts you admire today were once,
but they put in the work.
Clueless, but they put in the work. So that's where it starts from.
You're afraid.
And then go ahead and do it. And one thing I've learned lately is there's really no such thing as fear. Right? What we call fear, like, it's not that fear is real, right? Because you're a fear buster. Let me not close your market like that. Let me not shut down your source of income. But fear, like, fear, there is fear, but fear in the context of what we call fear. Fear has to do with imminent danger, right? When your life is at stake, you're about to be harmed. The thing we consider fear is more lack of belief. I'm already looking at the negative outcome, and so I'm magnifying the negative outcome. Instead of asking yourself, what if I fail at this? What if I'm no good? What if this doesn't work out for me? Why don't you ask yourself, what if I'm really great at this thing? What if I get this job? Focus on the best case, best outcomes, and not the negative outcomes. All right, let's move on to the next one.
Be careful of who you surround yourself with.
Very
careful.
That's his own conversation. All right, so the next challenge people normally face. Please let us know in the chat if you have any questions or things you want to address. This is the time. Just put that in the chat. Go on Instagram, on Facebook. Let us know if you have any questions about anything we talk about, or maybe particular experiences you want us to spend time to talk about a little bit more. The next point is the navigating the career change process, right? It's you're going from the familiar to the unfamiliar, and this is another reason that imposter syndrome thing kicks in, and that lack of skill. They're related, right? That process of navigating the change can be challenging because you don't know what you don't know, right? The language is new to you. The terminologies are new to you. The technologies, they are new to you. And so you're not walking into the room with that level of confidence and I got this. You don't have the connections per se. You don't have the network. You don't have that. It's like I'm stepping into this new space and I don't have the backing of expertise of I haven't done this before. I haven't worked in this industries before. And it can be a challenge for a lot of people embracing this move, and the funny part, I just did a thing on my WhatsApp stories just now, and I was talking about you have to leave home, and basically home referring to your comfort zone, the place where you've been nurtured, and it's a safe place. Home is your safe place. It's your familiar place. It's your because you can't really grow out when you're home. Right, growth home nurtures you, it trains you, but you become great, you become your full potential when you step out, right? So yes, you don't have the expertise, you don't have the experience but you have to believe in the journey you've taken to come to the point where you're at an interview.
Yes.
Right? You have to believe in the work you put in. You have to trust the process you've gone through. And that is how you overcome this, particular challenge.
Absolutely. And that's why sometimes people feel very they feel like they've gotten to the peak of their current career. Maybe that's been home for you. So sometimes you might want to step out and do something absolutely different. So I think another challenge that people face when they're trying to switch career is more around certification, the industry specific certifications and requirements. And so yes, there are specific, certifications you want to take in depending on the career you want to go to into tech, right? And so I mean, it's important. I always, I tell my students, like, I encourage them to get certifications, of course, right? Nobody can take that away from you. It's an add-on. You have the letters behind your name. You can hold on to it. And if there's any situation where there are like 5 people and that is the only qualifier, you definitely will be at the top of the pack, right? So it's almost like, I mean, depending on the type of certification it is, sometimes certification can be a verification that you care about your career development, which all of them are, or it could just be like an add-on, or it could be a way into a particular career, right? So for us, for example, the Scrum Master course, our certifications for me are very primary. I mean, they're like, they don't tell you what happens in real time. But that doesn't mean I discourage my students from getting it. I still encourage them to get it. But the course itself is what happens day to day so that they know the reality of it. So, I mean, if you're someone who's trying to figure out, want to get into tech, or maybe you've identified the space you want to get into, getting certification might be a good first move. But you're trying to figure out which one you want to get to, even get certifications might be a good idea to have an idea of what is this even all about. But I think certification is one of the reasons why most people because they come from a non-tech background, they don't possess it. It can be a challenge when they're trying to get into tech. Yeah,
certifications have their pros and cons. And it's important in some tech roles, certifications are a big deal. In some other tech roles, it's not really a requirement, right? So for example, if you're going into, say, the network engineering, like the highest, the most, there are certain skills you don't have, like there are certain skills that come with certification. Right. So if you come and say, I'm a CCIE, there's a level of skill I expect to have because you come to the labs and everything, right? So that particular part has a specific set of certifications that validates your skill, right? If you're coming the route, our database administration route, for example, certification is more a way to keep up with the technology itself. That's why there's variations of the same certification. As the technology evolves, the certification also, you have to update your certification, right? So it's important to understand your field, right? These are part of the things that you really have to figure out before you choose a career path. When it comes to what tech roles because then that will determine, okay, should I focus on certification? Right. Is this something that's certification driven, or is this certification is not a requirement? I tell my students, use certifications as a way to prove yourself, use it to your own gain when you start working. Because you can use that as a way to demonstrate that you're keeping up with the technology, you're up to date with what's new, therefore give me a raise, versus instead of getting certified before you get a job, and then it doesn't mean anything to the interviewer that you're certified for, as long as you can speak to the value behind it and what makes you stand out, right? It's funny how you talk about the certifications for like networking, because for Scrum, they're not changing it. It's the same. They might change the Scrum guide, of course, and the questions might evolve to match the Scrum guide, but it's not like, and there are different layers and different levels to it as well. And a quick tip, I mean, if you're working, your employer can pay for your certifications if they have that part as part of their benefits package and all of that great stuff. So there's no point just hoarding certifications so much without you being able to articulate the value behind it and use that to your advantage. So again, do your research before going in, understand the place of certification. I need some database people to get in on this chat. I'm feeling a bit oppressed. All right, the next challenge, while Stella reads her compliments, is the competitive job market, right? Now there was a time where tech wasn't a trend. When we first got into this, it wasn't a trend per se like that. Just some people didn't want to, some people didn't want to touch it.
The people actually didn't want it.
Yeah, some people didn't want it, just liked where they were. They liked their own space. I don't want to call any fields. But they were come now. It's almost like, especially with the COVID and the pandemic happening, and now almost all tech roles are really remote and work from home.
Yes.
There's so much more opportunity to work from home, and people are like embracing this work-life balance and, you know, just making good money while not having to burn yourself out. And that's something most tech roles will offer you, right? That's why I think tech is one career path, you know, where you can see somebody doing 2, 3, 6-figure jobs by themselves because of the flexibility that it offers once you have mastery. And I have opinions about multiple jobs, but you know, there's a level of mastery you command and you can handle multiple jobs. And people are beginning to see this, and they like the fact that I can make 200K without becoming a doctor, you know. And so, but what that has led to is there's more competition now. It's more competitive now than it was before, right?
The supply is as high as the demand.
Yes, demand and supply. Now there's people coming out every day with data analysis skills. There's cybersecurity trainings popping up everywhere. There's, you know, different, you know, people coming from Scrum who want to learn Scrum. You know, and the biggest incentive is they want to earn this money. So it's increase the competition, right? For most people trying to get in now, and that can be challenging. And most people now erroneously assume there's no more opportunities or there's limited opportunities. There is so much opportunities, I promise you. There is limited opportunities for people who are mediocre, right? And this is where, again, this is one thing we preach at Answer Technologies is we want to get you to a point where you don't need us. We want to train you so good where you don't want, our support is optional, our reaching back out to us for help. We want to get you to where you're comfortable, right? It's for us, it's about proficiency, you know, and that is, it's so important. Like, even if you don't do a program with us, if you're going to transition into tech, if you want to have your peak of jobs, you have to be solid at what you do.
That's right.
It's going to earn you, if a recruiter works with you for the first time and you get the job and you get good recommendations, that recruiter is going to call you for every job that comes to their plate because they want to make that commission, right? If you do a great job going to your first job, you're going to start building your referral list. You're going to have had jobs where people I worked with 5 years ago, 10 years ago, reached back out because we're someone they remember, hey, this guy was so good. And I'm not looking for a job. Like I was poached from so many jobs multiple times, right? Because somebody remembered what I did and how I did my work. While in the same field, people couldn't get jobs. Right. And so, yes, there's competition, but there is, I promise you, there's a lot of people who just are in this thing because they like the prospect, they like the money that you can potentially make, but they're not willing to put in the work to actually become good at the skill itself. If you become good at the technology, become good at your skill, become good at what you do, you will be sought after. You will not stay on the bench. That's just how it works.
And that leads us to the next point as well around, you know, the challenges that people face when they're transitioning into tech, the lack of relevant experience. And it all connects back to, you know, that building of that was the first point we talked about. The lack of knowledge, talk about imposter syndrome, also lack of relevant experience. It's a valid problem. Is how do I get, and first of all, recruiters say, you know, companies say they want to hire you if you have experience, but if you don't hire me, how will I get the experience? Right? So they're getting a lot of people being very creative on how to create this experience. You know, someone sent me a message and said, where can she get experience? And I'm like, everybody's trying to get it, this experience, right? And I get it. Absolutely get it, right? And so, I mean, having our students do projects is so that, you know, that experience is there so that they can begin to apply all of these things. But lack of relevant experience, especially for candidates that are transitioning into tech careers, they may struggle to demonstrate that practical experience or that relevant tech-based, you know, project on their resumes. Because again, a recruiter is not going to ask you what is something, you know, what is a table, or, you know, what is select? Yes, you know, so they're going to ask you relevant, you know, experience-based questions. So I think that's one of the challenges that people face.
Yeah, and this is another imposter syndrome reason. Like, people have imposter because they feel like I don't have the experience. There's something we tell our students, I emphasize for mine. Pilots are not judged by how long they've been, how when they graduated from pilot school. They calculate this by flight hours.
In the air for
flight hours.
Good one, boo.
This is use that reference me when you quote me when you say that. I say a wise man once said. So right, they don't. But that's how their experience is measured. It's by flight hours. Yeah. How long have you flown? Not necessarily that you graduated 10 years ago, right? So a lot of time we're looking at the years of experience and we're discounting the volume of work we do when we do labs and practice and trainings and projects, right? Your students get to simulate real world projects. You simulate all the stand-up calls. You assign every week, you assign them a scrum master, a product manager, product owner. They wear these hats that they wear in real life, and they do projects and they present, right? My students do work and do presentations every week. They go through the cycle of there's so much volume, and I tell them this is intentional. I'm intentionally overloading you with the practice time to build your flight hours, because that's where the confidence, that's what makes up for the experience you don't have coming in. You're going to get the experience once you get your first job, and then it's going to keep growing from there. But for that very first one, the way you build experience is by practice, it's by putting in the work, it's by building up your flight hours. That's how it works. So don't let your lack of experience, it has to start from somewhere. Again, nobody was born with experience. You have to go get it. So that's how it's going to work. All right, moving on to the next challenge.
The next challenge I think people face when trying to get into tech is sometimes they're like, okay, so the learning curve. It still boils down to, I think what we've talked about this in different ways, right? Learning curve. So the tech is always evolving. How do I keep up with the latest thing in town? How do I keep up with the latest Scrum guide? And how do I Ooh, there's a lot. Let me tell you one funny thing right now, like with the whole session of artificial intelligence, people new jobs are being created.
We should definitely do a session on artificial intelligence.
I know. Like companies are infusing artificial intelligence into their strategy, so there will always be learning curve. If you feel like you're stuck because you don't know if you would know enough when you get a job, let me tell you, there are people on the job that are still learning. They're literally learning on the job.
There's a lot of you'll be amazed.
I know. I'm telling me about it. Let me tell you, like sometimes I used to wonder, like, how in the world did you get the job? How in the world, like today, I was like, how am I telling you exactly what to do? But that's by the way, anyway. So let me tell you, the learning curve will always be there. There will never be an end to the learning curve. It's a curve. It doesn't end. It's always going to be there. So don't let that stop you from always ask yourself, what's the best that can happen? Okay.
Yeah, and this is also this learning curve. People learn. I'm talking from you're speaking to it from a perspective of on the job now, but even before you get in, right? The learning curve is different for different people, right? For some people coming in, you have some level of confidence or expertise in tech. Maybe you're not a tech person, but you're proficient in, you've always wanted to learn about, you've always been fascinated by all things tech, just that you never got to do it, right? So such people, their learning curve is different from the person who the only tech they know is how to turn on their computer and then log into Netflix, right? And so the learning curve is different for different people. And this is also very important when you're picking where and how your
career,
the career path, but also where you get trained and how you get training, right? It's so important because you want to consider how do they cater for me if I'm not at the pace of everybody. Right. If people come to us all the time and say, hey, I've never done anything tech before. Some people say, well, I know some things, right? And so you need to be able to, are they giving you the answers to that question? Like, I don't have enough tech experience. How is the program designed to cater for you?
Right.
To ensure that, yes, even with your zero tech skills, you're going to not lose out, right? And that's, we've modified our programs. We keep editing and modifying how we deliver our programs to ensure that no matter where you are, we can serve you. We literally changed up our whole database model, and we're working on that for Scrum Master now, to be able to literally meet people where they are, have more one-on-one time so that people can learn, go at their pace. Right. And it's amazing the results we're already seeing, in our program. So that can be a challenge. But again, it's solvable by making sure you are learning from the right sources and then choosing the right direction.
Right. All right. So another challenge I think we'll face when they're trying to get into tech is salary. It's a salary expectation. But I don't think that's a challenge because everyone assumes that in tech, right, that there is the salary is it's banging hot. is really that good. I mean, yes, it is, depending on what role you're going for.
Is that a myth or a fact?
I mean, I guess it depends on, first of all, the level you're going into, the title you have, the company you're working for, right? So different tech roles have different salary structures compared to, other industries. And so sometimes you might just have to adjust your mindset, really for the level you want to get into and what your goals are. You might, I meant to see someone who went in and feel like, oh, I should change myself. I should have stayed in my previous career. I'm literally yet to meet anybody. I've not met anyone who went into tech.
I feel like
any of our students, I felt like they had a better deal from their before. I've not met anyone like that at all. But anyway, salary expectation, be able to negotiate, we talk about, how to negotiate, how to ensure that you're not leaving money on the table, how to speak to your needs confidently, how to ensure that, you're getting the right benefits package and all of that great stuff. So salary should never be a barrier or a roadblock for when you want to pivot into tech.
And also note that where you start is not where you're going to end.
And it's going to be the least you ever.
It's probably likely going to be your least position, right? A lot of times, the first job is to get your foot in the door. Yeah, and that's the one that you used to knock down imposter syndrome. That's the one that you used to build your confidence. Yeah. So tech will pay you well. There's almost not any field. There's almost no tech space that you go into that won't pay you correctly or pay you well. It pays well. That's why people are going in there, right? So even if your first gig is not all that, now one of the things we teach is how to negotiate salary, how to have those conversations with recruiters. In the end, a lot of times it's what you're not paid. You're paid what you negotiate. So let me put it that way. You're paid what you negotiate, and so that's part of the things we teach. We equip our students with those skills. Yeah. But don't worry too much about that first paycheck. The first job is to get your foot in the door, get experience in your hands, knock off every fear about whether can I do this or not.
Do it, and then
once you're in, I promise you, it's going to happen. I've seen people go in and they're like, wow, what's going on? And then 6 months later, oh, I'm doing 3 jobs now. I'm like, what? Right? So it's incredible. Don't worry, don't judge where you are by the first one. Right? It's a journey. It's a career path you're taking on. It's not just it's not just a job. It's a career path.
Yeah, she's trying to get the leg in the door. Don't worry, you're gonna get your whole body through the door.
Yeah, that's you will.
Just a matter of time.
All right. So the next challenge is balancing work and learning. And that's one that everybody that we work with deals with. Yeah, it's quite right. It's people are busy already as they are. Yeah. You have a job, you have a family, you have things going on. And it's always a challenge, like, how do I learn, take classes, show up, do projects? Wow, I still have to pay bills. Bills are take care of kids. I still have family, spouses are still there. They need what they need. And so it's a big challenge. And our solution to this is you have to plan this. You have to plan your time. I used to do a project with my students then. First class, we'll do a 24-hour schedule. I'll demo. So now what I do is I just give them the video of the training I've done and have them go do it for themselves, right? Because again, you have to plan. You have to identify, this is my time for class. Yeah. This is my time for practice. Yeah. And then discipline yourself to make a deal with yourself to stick with that schedule. Yeah. That's the key, because you're busy. If it's not going to work if you do it when you have time. You didn't have time before you came to do you were already too busy to start, right? But you want to change your career path, you want to change your life now, and it's so important that you put in sacrifice. It's a sacrifice. This is, again, you have to you have to be disciplined about this one, because you're busy. Right. Most people that come to us already busy. They're already very occupied. They have a lot going on. You have a regular job. You have a family. You have your business. You have your hustle. It's not going to stop because you're taking a Scrum Master class or a DBA class or a cybersecurity or any of those things. It's not going to stop. So it just comes down to, people always have time. You just need to plan it. If it's important to you, you will find the time. And I believe this should be up there in the priority scale. You're making a career change, which is a major life change. But I think it's important enough to make time and discipline yourself to apply yourself to that.
What Shirma Samani put in the chat about that's where you can follow one of the Scrum values, commitment. In case you didn't know, the Scrum value, commitment is one of them. All right.
Do you really want us to start geeking out right now?
Absolutely. That's where you can follow one of the Scrum values, commitments. And we get it, right? I mean, adult education is a whole different ballgame.
It's a different
animal. I've had, my students come to class, physical class with their babies. Their babies are on Zoom. That's okay. It's honestly, like, think about even just, bachelor degrees or whatever, the masters, you required commitment. You had to go to class. There was a schedule, and there's a reason why for that, right? There's a schedule for studying, for project. The same thing with this one. Sometimes I feel like people want the shortest and the quickest way to get into tech, and they think they can just come with any kind of energy. You can't come with any kind of energy. Nope. You definitely need to be committed to it. You definitely need to do your work. That's the only way you can grow, right? And whatever you sow, you definitely would reap when it comes to the amount of work you put in, So first of all, like I said, we get it. It's a lot, but we always encourage our people, anybody looking to change careers to, like she said, be committed to the journey and don't relent until you get that prize.
Don't relent not until you get the prize. It's so powerful. And think of it, you're trying to get a 6-figure job. Think of yourself as the employer. Are you going to pay somebody who is not skilled enough? So be the judge of that. All right, next challenge, I think we'll start looking to.
Yeah, so that would be networking in tech, right? So I wanted to read what she wrote. Building connections and finding mentors within the tech community can be challenging. That's why we have the 6-figure, career secrets Facebook group, right? So that we can network. Like, sometimes I used to wonder, how in the world are you in a group? Well, you don't say anything.
You don't say anything.
Networking is not going to fall on you.
Nope, you have to.
You literally have to be proactive and engage and ask those questions. I've seen people in groups. A group is only as great as the engagement. And so, like, I want to do this Scrum Master Monique, talking about she was having imposter syndrome, that she went to a tech networking mixer last night. And when she just started talking to people, most people were also new or transitioned to tech. And it was nice to feel like I wasn't the only one. So that is the power of networking, is you realize, oh, okay, we're quite a bit in this journey. But then that's where you have that community. That's where you begin to rub minds. You just never know. Somebody can be like, oh, I met someone yesterday in a networking mixer, and there's a Scrum Master job, or I know someone. Oh, I know someone. And I literally, you don't have to know someone for like 10 years to refer them to. I can literally meet you today. If I remember you and something comes up tomorrow, I will reach out to you if I have your contact, right? So I think there was a video I did on Women Do That Free page about what to do when you're networking, and maybe for some people that are scared of networking. Maybe that's something we can talk about later. Let us know if you want to know how to network, because I feel like networking is a whole different beast on its own. However, networking in the tech industry can be challenging, like I said, because you can meet someone and you're like, well, what did they ask me all these hard questions and I don't know anything about it? Just breathe in and breathe out.
Breathe in and breathe out.
Is there a song like Breathing?
No, there's just a quote. Let the pot breathe.
I don't know the quote.
You're not following Nigerian politics. All right. The last one, this is a very long topic. And I think I just had an idea now that you mentioned the mixer. We can do these sessions live, and then people can come into the live audience and actually come, and then we can.
Sure, absolutely. We can.
Let us know if you're in Atlanta, if you want to.
Oh yeah, we can. In the office.
Yeah, we can do it in the office and have people come out. When we do this.
I would love that. We can work towards that.
So people can come in live, and then we'll still do the recording. But then
maybe after they can ask questions.
We can ask questions live. All of those cool things. So that can be our own mini mixer.
So if you're not a planner and if you want to come in live for a recording like this, let us know in the chat.
Yeah, let us know if you're an ATO. Just hit us up in the group. Let's know. Let's connect in person. It's it doesn't hurt.
That'd be great.
All right, we'll take one last one. There's so much more. We'll probably do another part 2 of this and deal with. But another one. I'm just trying to stick with the trend. I think we've stayed with today is overcoming rejection.
My goodness.
I'll tell you right now. It's happened to everybody, right?
Even when you think you're all that.
I was telling my students about my first interview that I went for. And this is the story. I'll just share the story. It's like a testimony, and then draw the lessons you want from it. But it's really about overcoming rejection and still going, right? The first interview I did, after I just gone through my database administration, self-taught, I felt confident enough. I was talking to these DBAs around me. I felt like, you know what? I know what I'm talking about. So I start applying for jobs. I get called for an interview with Inside Global. I go for the interview with them. babe, I kid you not. I feel like I was saying rubbish the whole time. Like I knew what they were saying and what I was saying were not rhyming, but I was answering the questions with my full chest, 10 toes down, bass in my voice. Like, you know what, I'm here already. So I'm going to just talk. I knew, you know, when you're talking, like, you know, that is absolute gibberish. You know, a lot of people after that interview, they get deflated. You don't want to count, especially, and for me, I think what made me strong to that point was I've been rejected so many times because of my immigration status, right? I have been told no so many times. Many companies had rejected me. That was one of the reasons that I left, you know, Wilmington, that I loved to move to Atlanta. Was I needed opportunity, I needed to explore more, right? So rejection was already part of I had seen a lot of it. So it didn't move me. But the testimony is 9 years later or so, I worked for them as a senior database engineer. And they paid me, let me not talk about money, but it was significantly more, right? The difference in what they paid me versus what I was going to get the first one was some people's annual salary, right? And so don't take rejection personal. It's part of the process, right? It's part of the learning. Everybody, the expert you admire today was once a rookie, was once clueless, right? So don't take it personal. Just learn from it, grow, figure out why. What did I do wrong? You know, we always.
I remember. I remember myself too. For an interview. I think I told you. I can't remember. Yep. They gave me something to draw. I don't know what I do that day. I don't know what I was drawing. I was drawing a human being or an animal. I was just doing something.
Yep.
And I could have been deflated, of course, you know, but you just kind of like get up again and just keep going.
Get back on your feet.
You know, I guess you hate that feeling so much. I want that feeling to repeat itself again. I think that's very important.
But that's the motivator, right?
But you gotta have that feeling though. If you run away from that feeling, you will never get to experience the other side of that feeling.
You appreciate, like, it's going to push you because you don't want it to happen again. You're going to be ready for the next one, right? That's the goal. I always tell my students, the goal is you want to be better with each interview. I don't expect the first one to be great, but I want you to learn from the first one and then come back, debrief. Let's debrief what the question asked. If that question comes out again, you're going to own it completely, right? You're going to beast it. That's the idea. That's the goal. So rejection is part of the process. Failure is part of the process. It's part of the growth process. But if you hang in there long enough, if you put in the work, you will be successful. All right.
I wanted to say thank you so much to everyone who's joined us on Facebook. Thank you, Scrum Master Monique. We love the feedback about definitely enjoying the chat, the energy. Yes. So I hope to see everyone again next week, Friday. So these challenges presented to me are very much more personal. Absolutely. I know, like we said, like life happens. Life just keeps happening, honestly. Just have to take it one day at a time and really have those goals set up, right? And just stay committed to it. You know, it's never. See, we're not going to come here and say, like, today's topic was about challenges. We're not going to come here and say just the benefits. We're going to talk about the challenges because it's growth, it's transformation, it's a whole new industry. Of course, absolutely, yes. Challenges are to be expected, right? So it's how we navigate through that so that we have that story, we are getting stronger. And then again, you have this community to lean on, right? So like you already know, I'm counting down to sharing your success story. I already told you, you're coming to my class, another class to come and share your success stories from Master Monique. So that one I am confident about. But thank you all so much for joining. And like you said, if you're in Atlanta and you want to come to one of these live recordings, let us know.
Yeah, if you want us to be live, come let us know. We want to see the traction. But really, the objective of this sessions is to build a vibrant community of tech professionals, where you can come in, feel comfortable, ask questions, get your resources that you need. So please ask questions. Don't just wait till Friday to ask questions or to, the group is there. We're posting stuff all week. We share stuff about our programs that we have. But in the end, the group is there to support you. So if you have tech questions, career-related questions, put it in the group. You can post stuff in there. There's no restrictions. we'll do our best to answer them. And if it's something that requires a conversation like this, we'll bring it to this forum. And
we can bring it to live. If you have any question, any topic you want us to cover too, feel free to let us know.
Yeah, and then I know this is a 6-figure tech secret, but we don't want to be a secret. Tell everybody about us, right?
Nice.
We don't want to be a secret. Tell people that this group is here, exists, and we're trying to build a unique platform for tech, career changes. So that's the goal. If you're watching on my Instagram, thank you for staying with us, for joining us. We see a lot of good people on IG. Please head over to Facebook and make sure you join the group.
The link is in our bio.
Link is in our bio, my bio, maybe not my bio, but
it's in my bio.
Her bio. It's in Ensa Technologies bio. It's some bios everywhere.